Well, hello there, my little safe crackers. Do you have your combinations ready? Because it's time for the Comic Vault! It's time for the Comic Vault full of comics that we get to have reviewed on Geekvolution. Today, on the Comic Vault, we have Batman Madness, an early Tim Sale, Jeff Loeb collaboration on Batman. It predates Long Halloween. For those of you who don't know, Long Halloween is my personal favorite Batman story in general. I love the Long Halloween. It's not because it has something to do with Two-Face. For those of you who know, I have a giant Two-Face collection. Giant relative to most Two-Face collections, I would suppose. How many people have a Two-Face collection? There's probably at least one more. You get it? Anyway. I have derailed. Batman Madness. I have my Two-Face collection because of Long Halloween. I read Long Halloween, loved it, saw Dark Knight, loved it, collected the figures. Anywho, I have this, and we're going to review this. So Batman Madness, basically, it's really a pretty... It's not a particularly deep plot, but there are things in here that make it significant. So, what it is... just to give you a skeleton of what the plot is. The Mad Hatter, Batman is pursuing the Mad Hatter. Barbara Gordon runs away, gets abducted by the Mad Hatter. Batman deals with it. It's really a pretty bare bones plot. But, now, here's what makes it interesting. Batman has a little bit of a character arc, and Barbara Gordon has a little bit of a character arc, and Jim Gordon has a little bit of a character arc. So, essentially, and it all deals with parents and parenting, and that's what I find interesting. So, Batman is a guy who is, obviously, he's an orphan. That's the famous Batman story. He's remembering his mother fondly. He's remembering things about his mother and what they did together, meaning, in this particular instance, specifically, reading Alice in Wonderland. So, which is kind of sad considering he's fighting the Mad Hatter and seeing madness and how Alice in Wonderland is affecting the madness of the Mad Hatter. So, hence Batman Madness. But how this affects parenting issues as well is you look at Barbara Gordon, who's rebelling against Jim Gordon, and at some point she runs out of the house because Jim Gordon is being too overbearing, and she refuses to obey his wishes. So she runs away, or at least temporarily. And we see a juxtaposition where the parents are alive, or at least sort of. Jim Gordon, the father figure here, is not respected by the daughter, at least not wholly respected. His wishes are not being respected. And then we have Batman, who is missing the parental role, or has been for quite a long time, and he remembers it fondly. So, absence makes the heart grow fonder. I find that to be an interesting idea. So we have a little bit of a juxtaposition. And then we have the flip side, the parental role, where in Jim Gordon, seeing that maybe he's being a little overbearing. I find that interesting. I feel like we have all three possible perspectives we could have here. Well, I suppose it's impossible to really have the dead parents unless it's coming from the afterlife. That's weird. I'm not sure why I said that. But, I find these juxtapositions interesting. And it's all cleverly crafted for all of these things to work together. Beyond that, there's not a lot to say. I find it charming that Batman still misses his mother from time to time. And when I say charming, I don't mean that's really sad. It's not charming that he's missing his mother, but it's interesting to me, and I do find it charming how he deals with it. Batman has a little bit of a coping mechanism that you find at the end of the book, and Barbara Gordon has a character arc where she realizes, well, maybe Jim Gordon is being reasonable in certain ways. And then Jim Gordon says, well, maybe I'm being a little too harsh. So we have these little character arcs. Batman softening, letting himself experience things that he's been trying to bury for years and years. And then, of course, the other two that I just mentioned. So I find this to be a very well-written book. When I first read it, I thought, well, there wasn't a lot to that. And then I started thinking back upon it, and how these three character arcs really come together pretty quickly. And it's just pursuing... Granted, there is a little bit of a contrivance that the girl that... What's his name? The Mad Hatter happens to come across is Barbara Gordon. Jim Gordon says, something bad's gonna happen to you. Barbara Gordon says, nuh-uh, and runs out, and then gets caught by the very person that Batman is pursuing that evening. It's a little contrived, but I'll forgive it because I find it pretty interesting. So thanks for watching the Comic Vault, guys. If you would like to donate things to the Comic Vault, you can send things to Geekvolution, P.O. Box 14183, Lenexa, Kansas 66285. Thanks for watching the Comic Vault, guys. As always, I'm Vince. This is the Comic Vault. This is Geekvolution. We'll catch you next time.